If you can believe it, this video marks the 2-year anniversary of the anime The Aquatope on White Sand, approximately, and I want to talk about why it outpaces nearly every other slice of life anime. Sorry if this sounds a little funny, I just woke up, so it should get better as we go on. But first, did you know you can directly support my endeavors here on YouTube by hitting that big button that says subscribe on it? In doing so, you can continue to enjoy a different side anime content here on YouTube. And as always, check community posts for the latest and greatest. Thank you all for the incredible support on the channel this year, the best so far. And let's get started. The Aquatope on White Sand is a PA Works anime that aired through the summer and fall anime seasons in 2021. The anime follows two girls, Fuuka and Kukuru. After running away from her idol career in the big city, Fuuka boards a plane to Okinawa and finds herself surrounded by an aquarium full of wonder. The aquarium remains in desperate need of repair with dwindling visitors, forcing a decision on whether to keep the doors open or closed by the end of the summer. Kukuru, passionate about the aquatic life in Gama Gama Aquarium, vows to do everything in her power to keep the lights on. Unbeknownst to Fuuka and bearing the brunt of a heavy heart and damaged dream, she begs Kukuru for a job, though upon realizing her own inexperience is more of a hindrance than a help, the girls wonder whether they really can keep the aquarium open or if this dream will fall by the wayside like the rest. While Gama Gama was the main focus of the anime for the first half, PA Works put just as much magic into this anime as any actual magic genre anime, and that's the first thing that makes Aquatope stand out. The anime was never solely about keeping the doors to an aging aquarium open, it was about following your heart and going wherever it leads you. Look at it this way. Fuuka had everything going for her and was part of a successful idol group in Tokyo, at times, even having to force a decision on film roles. But that's not where the anime went with the story. Instead, Fuuka packs her bag and spontaneously boards a plane to Okinawa, where she eventually stumbles upon Gama Gama and Kukuru. Even though, sadly, Gama Gama does close, the anime tees up its next major plot point, and that is Fuuka and Kukuru in the introduction of the Tingara Aquarium, though this is jumping ahead. Aquatope did things no other slice of life anime did. It chose to portray the failures we oftentimes face in life and exemplified them in more than one episode. The anime itself is even subtitled The Two Girls Met in the Ruins of Damaged Dream. Fuuka admitted to Kukuru in the first few episodes that her dream was over and she was now there to support Kukuru's dream. And it's not every day you see the kind of character growth and human-like evolution of thoughts and attitudes that Fuuka went through. Her dream was to be an idol in Tokyo. Not necessarily an easy life, but most certainly a popular dream. But when that fell apart and she jumped at the opportunity to take a plane anywhere but where she was, you can see how the spontaneity to make a decision like that is reflective of how we feel a lot of the time today. We sit around and mull over making decisions that end up impossible to make. Why else would Google have a literal coin flip? Not only that, Fuuka grew to love Gama Gama and the aquatic life within. She so loved the aquarium and the bond she developed with Kukuru that even after returning home for a brief period, she still couldn't help but surprise her at the start of the second core, that night on the beach. Backtracking a little bit, throughout the first 4 episodes, Fuuka fails to tell her mother where she is, which is understandable because how do you tell someone your successful idol career totally flopped? So, when her mother shows up at the end of episode 4, the viewer immediately receives the impression that she's going to be the antagonist and upend Fuuka's presence in the anime as a whole. The first thing she tries is running away from her problems. Her idol career crashed and burned, and now she faces the reality of her less than happy mother, who flew all the way out from the mainland to Okinawa. As it turns out, however, Fuuka's devotion for the Gama Gama staff and the aquarium as a whole are her saving graces. But she must return home in the fall, September, to attend school. This recognition of hard work ends up being one of the most obvious themes in the anime, and while other slice of life anime have also presented similar themes, Aquatope takes it and runs with it. We're introduced to the multifaceted roles and a lot of frustration and defeat. The entire first core of the anime leads you on, making you think there's no way Gama Gama will close, when ultimately it does close. Typhoon being the final nail in the watery coffin. But this isn't where our story ends, as the anime grows into something that has become unrivaled in terms of where it went with its second core. Recall that Chiyu dropped by Gama Gama for a short while near the end of the first core and Kukuru's hostile reaction and treatment towards her. When you compare the level of growth and maturity Kukuru reached after discovering Chiyu had a baby boy, everything starts to become clear. This anime grew into one that represented blue-collar workers, but it also grew into something that represented the power of a single person's dream. Most slice-of-life anime are pretty linear in nature. They go from point A to point B, or it's a boy meets girl, girl falls in love by the final 2 or 3 episodes. There's a timeline of events that is both highly predictable and lacks originality aside from the uniqueness of different characters. This is where Aquatope shines. Not because it lacks originality, which it has plenty of, but the ways in which it purposefully breaks the mold. Yes, the anime moves from point A to point B, but it does so in a way that you can't predict. For instance, during the typhoon, you're on the edge of your seat the entire episode hoping that Gama Gama can survive the storm, and you're thinking, there's no way they close Gama Gama because that's the entire basis of the anime. Keeping it open. If you followed along with the anime as much as I did, you were probably pretty shell-shocked when the aquarium did close its doors for good. While Chiyu's introduction earlier on can be seen as foreshadowing, that's not how it came across at all. What makes this even more interesting is how her inclusion within the Gama Gama family gradually changed Kukuru's approach to new scenarios, and the reality that nothing lasts forever. While I'm not trying to downplay the genuine nature of most slice-of-life anime, the fact that Aquatope led its entire audience on a one-way road with no turnaround is part of what made the anime so unique, helping to form the bond between media and viewer. If we look at Fuuka's reincorporation into Kukuru's life at the start of the Tingara arc, it becomes apparent that Aquatope was about more than just aquatic life and aquariums. Kukuru lost everything she worked so hard for, and her subsequent breakdown broke the facade she'd been putting on for so long after losing her parents at a young age. In some ways, Fuuka became like a mother to Kukuru, but in others, she was the anchor that kept her from drifting too far out to sea. The irony is, it was Fuuka who ran from her dream first. Like she was a ship lost at sea, she could go anywhere, but all that greeted her was an endless body of water, so she just sailed on. She maintained her heading until Gama Gama came into view. Dreams are important, but when you watch them come crashing down in front of you, you feel like a fish floundering in too shallow water. I mentioned this in my final review video of the anime, but the fact that Fuuka ended up at Gama Gama with Kukuru is the best case for believing in fate. She stood in the lobby of the airport, surrounded by people she'd never see again. She could have gone anywhere. The poster on the wall that led her to Okinawa. Think about it. Of all the places in Japan one could go to just get away, it was Okinawa that called her. Okinawa is no small place, despite being an island, and while Fuuka couldn't believe she'd jumped on the impulse to take what is a 2.5-hour plane ride, it was truthfully the best thing to ever happen to her. She found a new passion, a new calling in life. There's no other reason she rented an apartment right next to Kukuru in Okinawa and already had a position at the Tingara Aquarium. Surprisingly, she was assigned to be one of the assistants for the animals while Kukuru was thrown head first into marketing. And this leads me to a general discussion about Kukuru. The most promising theory for this is that Kukuru simply wasn't mature enough. It's not that she couldn't handle taking care of the animals. She had plenty of experience in that field. It's seemingly more likely that she needed to see the world and understand that there's more to life than what she thought she knew. Fuuka, on the other hand, had already proved her maturity as a young woman when she came clean to her mother in episode 5, even rejecting a movie deal back on the main island a few episodes later. Kukuru's skills and talents were needed elsewhere, and despite hitting several walls along the way, she came out on the other side of hardship, stronger and more confident. As much as I don't typically root for hardship to come to a main character, the fact of the matter is, Kukuru had to realize that life doesn't always go the way we want or need it to. Unlike Fuuka, she ran from everything. Fuuka, while still mostly adrift at times, didn't run from the things she was afraid to face. The biggest challenges Kukuru had to face was Chiyu and the discovery that she had a child, which completely changed their relationship, gradually, through the rest of the anime, and the rejection of the wedding proposal. If you don't want to be spoiled on the name of the anime and what it refers to, skip ahead approximately 10 seconds. The Aquatope on White Sand was talking about Tingara's White Sand Dome, and the project was literally named the Aquatope Project. A brand new exhibit Kukuru was put in charge of. The saying, "good things come to those who wait," really shines here because not only did Kukuru go through her own version of hell, she came out stronger and was rewarded with something amazing. The Aquatope on White Sand was not your typical slice-of-life anime, and, truth be told, it had plenty of heart-wrenching moments. From the collapse of Fuuka's dream to Kukuru's running away and even Chiyu's antagonizing reactions towards Kukuru, there were plenty of moments that took me by surprise, but there were also plenty of others that provided excellent lessons learned. For instance, when Kukuru changed her attitude towards Chiyu, and when Fuuka left to find Kukuru after she ran away, after the rejection of the wedding proposal. Furthermore, Fuuka's own affirmation of her identity and passions was equally as insightful. I can't vouch for everyone when I say this, but I'm sure going from idol to aquarium assistant isn't easy and likely only represents one of the smallest groups of people ever. Regardless, the series does great in incorporating what is the likely magical realism of living in rural Japan. Hence why the Kijimuna was probably never expanded upon, as it was meant to be something to represent that magical kind of feeling. Not necessarily something that required explanation. In some ways, I think Aquatope can be rewarded for its moments of what were clearly more than an average friendship. It didn't try to shove any two characters together or place emphasis on a romantic side of the story that would have done more harm than good to the overall value of the anime. The lessons learned and overall feeling of being lost and trying to chase an uncertain future. Something you want but can't quite define. In the end, Aquatope is able to combine the various pieces that made up its story and held its foundation together, creating a marvelous display of hard work, the importance of friendship, and figuring out what it means to have a dream and grasping it. Truthfully, the dream Kukuru was chasing from the start wasn't Gama Gama, it was Fuuka. She just didn't realize it until the very end of the anime. Even though Fuuka admitted her dream is over, she began a new one with Kukuru, who was also her dream. And together, the two girls truly did meet in the ruins of a damaged dream.